Hi, my name is Dr. Dwayne Dundor, and today we're going to talk about different things like banking and IRS codes. Two of the primary ones, or the main two ones, are NAICS, which is used by banks primarily. The SIC is also used by the federal government, primarily the IRS. How these codes can affect you is basically when you're starting a business or you're getting started in a business, even if you are in a business that's, let's say a longer term business, you've been doing it for a little while, you go to switch banks or you try to get a loan, and then you have to put in these new codes. In most cases, every time, if you do it, the bank's going to ask you for this code. But the one thing the bank doesn't tell you is that there are a ton of these codes that are considered high risk. Some of the codes, they may not actually give you anything at all. So, when you look at high risk codes, a lot of times it's actually what's considered on here where banks don't like it, or things that are high cash intense type of businesses. Could be, home center, it could be sporting goods store, it could be, almost anything that actually has cash, where it's cash, mini markets, stuff like that, gas stations. So that can actually affect you, a lot of different times. So you also have high risk industries too. The car industry is a huge one where, you have, let's say, new car dealers, car repair places, boat dealers, anything like that, where the dealership is actually considered a high risk, which a lot of times has to go to underwriting. So the bank will give it to underwriting. Underwriter may say that, hey, we don't want that kind of business in our bank. One of the big ones too is right now is cannabis. Cannabis is a huge problem in banking industry, where people actually are in the cannabis business. Now, years ago you heard these stories about that the dispensaries had to use cash and things like that. Now there are banks now that are cannabis banks, but again, a lot of times because it is still federally illegal, even though the states have them, what ends up happening is you can't actually do with a lot of banks. Like most major banks do not do anything with cannabis type operations, or even hemp operations, or even if you have CBD in your stuff and you're selling CBD in your store, let's say, and you have those products. If you put those in there, they can actually do that. Now, one of the things I can also tell you about this is the bank's underwriting departments or their loss control departments will look up your websites, okay? So if you have things that you are in these type of categories that they don't like, and they see it on your website, or you have a product that you're promoting, and even though it might be something that you're only doing a small portion of, if they see these classification codes on there that you're doing these things, they can shut your account down. And in most cases, a bank doesn't have to give you a reason for shutting your account down. They will just shut it down, and you can spend the next 3 weeks trying to find out why they shut it down. And the best thing to do is just move to a different bank, because they're not going to open it up again for you, especially if they think that you have one of these categories in here. Again, it's so many different things. So the main thing you should look up is start looking at banks' codes, these codes here. Also look at the IRS's codes. The IRS has a bunch of different classifications. It can also affect your tax brackets, things like that, how you can actually deduct stuff. Some things, some industries have different deductions and how different things actually play out than others. So, this is a big thing when it comes to business. So this is going to be a short one because I'm going to tell you to study these codes, look them up, type in, bank, that NAICS code that, that are restricted from banks, or high risk bank codes. Look at them and try not to pick one of them that's on the lists. There's all type of websites out there that can tell you these codes, but again, the biggest thing to do is trying to figure out which they are. Keep your business away from them. Also remember that when you're setting up things like landing pages, Facebook posts, things like that, or Instagram posts, if you're promoting one of these classifications that are actually not supposed to be there and the bank sees it, they will shut your account down. And if it's something, the other problem you have is that, let's say you have one of these high risk businesses because it's a lot of cash coming in and out, cash going in and out all the time. The bank actually may be suspicious to it, especially if you have a small company that looks like you can only do so much in cash, but you're bringing in $10,000-$20,000 in cash a week. They may close the account down because they think it's something else going on. That's normally what happens with most of these type of codes, is they're looking at, is it money laundering? Is it something illegal happening? And the classifications normally go back to that. So again, study these codes. When you go into business, try to pick one that's not on the list. I'll talk to you next time.